Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town of Babylon Planning Board. We have one public hearing. Today is September 18th, 2023. Could you please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Frank, could you lead us to the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Denise, could you call the roll? Go ahead.
Pat Halpin.
Present.
Frank Santos. Julianne Nolan. Jerry O'Neill.
Present.
Dan Truchin.
Present.
Ed Wynn.
Present.
Juan Leon.
Present.
Rich Groh.
Present.
Greg Gaxiola. Matt Esposito. Rich Casey.
Thank you very much. Before we start the public hearing, let me read this statement into the record. The planning board shall have the right to rely on any information that is presented by the applicant. If any such information is later found to be inaccurate or incorrect, the planning board may determine that any approvals, building permits, or other actions previously granted in connection with the application are null and void. Denise.
Item A, public hearing, site plan review, bar restaurant, job number 22-55AF, 1822 Deer Park Holdings, LLC, and 1836 Deer Park Holdings, LLC, proposes to demolish all existing structures in order to construct two one-story buildings for two bar restaurant, each with 40 seats, 28 indoor, 12 outdoor. Building A proposed at 2,400 square foot for an undetermined tenant. Building B proposed at 2,430 square feet for a Qdoba with a drive-through window for rapid pickup and traditional menu boy.
Okay, who's here on behalf of the applicant?
For the applicant, John Farrell with the firm of Son, Ward, Braff, Koblenz. Our offices are at 1300 Veterans Memorial Highway, Suite 100, Hauppauge, New York.
Okay, please proceed.
Memo.
Okay, hold on, before you start, I just want to ask, have you had a chance to review the memo dated September 13th by Liz White, the Deputy Commissioner, with your client?
Yes, I have. We agree to all of the covenants and the conditions set forth in the memo.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. So as stated in the call of the case, the application is to demolish the existing buildings on the site, which include a building that was formerly known as Christie's Smoke Shop, and then there were two commercial buildings that were used for auto repair uses. Those buildings are coming down, and we're building two fast casual style restaurants, not fast food per se. They're more of a, food's made fresh, it's not brought in and frozen and then reheated. These are going to be a little more upscale than fast food, but not, high restaurant quality with wait staff. Each restaurant will have 28 indoor seats and seating patios along the street front for 12 additional seats. The site plans as proposed, the buildings comply with all of the setback and bulk requirements, with the exception of the northerlymost building. The rear yard setback is a little under 18 feet. It's required to be 50. But in that area, you can see on the site plan that's up on the board, we back up to a commercial building there, so no impact on the residents. So if you look at the plan too as well, we have you'll notice on West First Street, we have a curb cut to the rear. The plan that's a proposed plan, I think. We have yes, that's the plan that's currently before the board. So you'll see we have a left out only dumpster enclosure. Those are set to the southerly side of the parcel to keep them closer to the Verizon building, which is a big commercial industrial style office building, which you can see on the aerial photo, and away from the single family residence, which is the only other property that has frontage on West First Street. We looked at the planning memo dated August 31st, and we noted in there that planning suggested that they were open to changing the curb cut on West First Street because of some evidence in the traffic study that showed that there were accidents and so forth on Grand Boulevard. So the way the curb cut is designed presently, the traffic is being forced out towards Grand Boulevard, coming off the site. Planning's memo suggested that they would be willing to consider either an unrestricted curb cut, which means ingress and egress in either direction on West First Street. Obviously, that would be ideal for our client, but we would defer to whatever the town wants us to do. If you think it's better to have it so that we can go left or right out of there, I think that particular option is a good option, because then people that want to go north don't have to go back to Grand Boulevard, make a left across 2 lanes of traffic on Grand Boulevard, and then go out and wait at the light on Grand Boulevard to go north. They can make a right out and go to Lake Avenue and make the left off of Lake Avenue. But again, we would defer to the town. My client is very anxious to get this project moving. He's preparing right now demolition permits in anticipation of this board's favorable action on this application. So he's very serious about getting this done. In addition to this work, to the buildings, we're also doing a pretty substantial landscaping plan. There's a heavy buffer along West First Street that will shield the building from...
Hold on 1 second, Mackie, are you pulling it up now? Okay, go ahead.
Yep. So we're going to plant a lot of mature trees. Those along West First Street are red cedar. They're going to be planted at 6 to 8 feet in height, and they'll be 6 feet on center. It's a double row, so you're going to have pretty substantial coverage, and hopefully that will shield it from the neighbors. We have the similar treatment around the dumpster enclosure towards West First Street. And you can also see on the plan that we're proposing a number of trees on the site. So we think overall this is going to be a great improvement. The uses are in line with what's prevalent along Deer Park Avenue. We think the architecture of these buildings is in keeping with the character of the community. And with that, I would ask the board if you have any questions.
Do you have a rendering?
I believe we submitted renderings. Right.
Do we have it here?
They're
Okay,
up there.
good, thank you.
That's the rendering for the Qdoba. That will be on the that'll be the southerlymost building on the property. That's a representative look of the Qdoba. There's one on Route 110 that has a similar style and design. There's also one on Hempstead Turnpike that's similar in character to this.
Do any of the board members have any questions? Jerry? What does the back of that building look like?
That was the first question I asked my architect, and he said the architecture will match the front of the building, so.
Okay, good answer. And I always go to Jerry first, because he always wants to know what the neighbors are going to be looking at.
Absolutely.
Frank?
The dumpster, all the dumpsters are in the same location, the back corner?
Correct.
Nothing by the first.
Right, they're on the southerlymost portion of the property, away from the residence and adjacent to that commercial property. For both restaurants, correct.
Are there any other questions, Dan? Juan? Jerry? No? You good? Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Is there anyone that would like to address the board regarding this application? Come on, did you fill out a card? Yeah, come on up. Just give the card to Matt, please.
You're welcome.
All right, could you please state your name and address for the record?
It's Andrew D'Ambroso and Jean L. D'Ambroso, 56 West First Street, Deer Park, New York.
Okay. And Matt, where is that residence in
Right
relation?
across the street.
Right across the street. Right here, this is it?
We can't see the map, it's too small.
Okay.
It's on a corner of First Street and Lake Avenue.
Okay, yes, that's the house. Go ahead. Please proceed.
We have a few concerns. One of them is the traffic. There's been a number of accidents on Lake Avenue
Oh,
and...
hold on. I've been reminded. We have to swear you in.
Oh,
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
we do.
Please proceed. Thank you. I mean, you're very trustworthy people, but my
Okay.
lawyer just reminded me.
All right. There's been a number of accidents, they should be on record, on Lake Avenue and Deer Park Avenue.
Also Lake Avenue and West First Street,
So
right
it's
on that corner.
right on the corner there, and there is always a parking problem on the block, because directly across the street from us, although there's a parking lot there, there's an insurance agency there. With 2 restaurants being added, if there isn't ample parking, we think we will encounter a lot of parking that will be taking place directly in front of us or on the side of us. So we feel concerned about that. Also, the noise level that could take place if a bar stays open late and they have some type of sports activity going on. There could be a tendency for people to indulge themselves greater and drink while they cheer. And since we are directly across the street, we would be maybe not ready to cheer, but we would be concerned about the noise.
And we already have a big problem with people dropping bottles, cans, paper goods from every other fast food restaurant around, including
Papa Joe's.
Chipotle and Papa Joe's,
Joe's.
which are right down the street. And you're proposing to put a Qdoba right across from Chipotle? Really? Chipotle's not doing that well.
At least we don't see a lot of traffic there. So, I mean, those are our main concerns about the, we're happy to see something go there because there's nothing there right now and it's a sore eye. But having 2 restaurants and bars there,
It's not that large a piece of property
Property.
for all the seating that was mentioned in your letter to us. And indoor and outdoor,
where is all the parking gonna
where are they
take
gonna
place?
park? Where are they gonna go? Already, the places that are further down on West First Street towards Grand Boulevard, they park their trucks. The people that work there park their work vehicles and they park their personal vehicles all up and down that street. They're using the driveway that backs up into the old building over there, and they park their trucks over there. I'm glad they're not on the street, but they're still there. And they'll still need to park their vehicles somewhere. Where? The house behind us has at least 2 families living in it, and they have at least 6 cars between them. Their cars are parked up and down Lake Avenue every night. So
Also-
where will the extra parking be? It's nowhere.
I heard the gentleman say about how they would leave the restaurants. We really would object to the people coming out and then turning on First Street.
On
and
Lake Avenue?
Lake
No.
Avenue and First Street.
That's a school crossing.
It's really not, we already have accidents and traffic in that area. So it would be better if they exit and were going toward Grand Boulevard, since there's more businesses on Grand Boulevard and no private housing like there is on First Street and Second Street. So that is a concern of ours, and
Another concern is, though the 2 places that had previously been in those warehouse-type buildings, one was a car place that did car repairs, the other one sold tires. What are you doing about whatever was in that land after they leave? It's been empty for a long time. Nobody's done anything to ameliorate the situation. What are you going to do with it? You start digging up the ground, and whatever's in the ground will leach out elsewhere.
Is there anything else you'd like to bring to our attention?
well, we're happy that you're listening. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much for coming out
Okay.
this evening to talk about this.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? All right. Give it to Matthew. Thank you. have our clerk emeritus, town clerk emeritus addressing us.
Carol
Please state your
Clark.
name and address.
And
for the
I live in
record.
Deer Park, 137 West 7th Street, Deer Park.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Absolutely.
Please proceed.
I'm glad to see that Deer Park is finally being mentioned in this board, and things are looking forward, and you know, I'm very, very concerned about Deer Park. I've lived there a long time. My children all went to school there, and we need help. I don't know how many of you come from that area and go down Deer Park Avenue. It's despicable. I mean, it's absolutely, absolutely awful. This is a good plan. It's a good place because it's wide open property. And like these people said, the back of those buildings have been turned into a parking lot without parking lot permission. So they have all the trucks and the cars and all this kind of stuff back there. It's a huge, huge, back behind where the auto shop was, back by next door. The land behind it is barren, and it's all random parking now. People park in there, and people that live there can't, and people that want to walk to the store really can't do it. It's not safe. I think it's a great project. The community is looking for restaurants, and I say restaurants, not McDonald's or Burger King or anything else like that. We probably have the most, and then we'll be in a record book somewhere for fast food restaurants. So I think there's a real concern about making more of a village kind of field on there, doing things on Deer Park Avenue, doing things with the types of stores that go in there. So I find it to be, the only thing I don't like is letting those cars make left-hand turns on Lake Avenue. They can't go left, they can't go right. They shouldn't be going north, they have to go south. South is the only thing behind those stores is parking lots. Like this couple said, there's cars there from all over. People that drive to the city, they park their cars there and they, get one car and go to the city. But going going north is not fair to the people that live in that community. It's a well-kept area, and there's no reason why the cars should be going that way. Let them go, which is empty property, and I'm curious to what this builder has in mind for the property behind there, because it is a big, big lot. And something needs to be done with it, because it's just a hangout. The motorcycle guys are hanging out there, the drug dealers are hanging out there. It's poor lighting, so I'm hoping that you guys look into something, as far back as your property goes. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to see you again. Is there anyone else? Eric? Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Eric Alexander, office address 24 Woodbine Avenue, Northport. Personal address 164 Main Street, Northport. I am not a Deer Park resident.
You have to speak up, Eric.
Oh, sorry. 24 Woodbine Avenue, Northport.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Eric Alexander, again, I'm the director of Vision Long Island. We've spent the last 2 years listening to the Deer Park community through the revitalization process. We've had multiple meetings, larger scale meetings and smaller scale meetings with local organizations that we've heard from as far as what they want to see changed in the community. So I'm here today to just provide some information, really not have an opinion per se, because it's not my place or my role, but I was just talking to Carol, and she's encouraged me to come down tonight and
Please
just
address the record.
weigh
Please
in.
address
So,
the board, not
yep,
the other
sure. So
members of the audience.
what we've heard is that site needs to be redeveloped. We've heard that came up meeting after meeting, and it was an eyesore that people wanted to see redeveloped, and they didn't want to see it vacant in the condition that it was. So that's the one thing we heard. The other thing we heard is folks do want more restaurants, sit-down restaurants in particular, maybe more higher-end restaurants, but they didn't want to see as many fast food and drive-throughs along Deer Park Avenue. So we heard that. We also heard that there is a concern about pedestrian safety, so to the degree that walkability can, and pedestrian access in and out of these sites is just as important as auto flow, because we've heard from the school district, we've heard from the fire department and others that there are serious safety concerns, and I think it's an issue across Long Island as far as speeds, as far as crashes, as far as safety. So to the degree that there can be a walkability, can be incorporated into any site design, not just this one, right? And then the other question that came up in one of the meetings was, this was considered an opportunity for mixed-use development with housing. The community was split on that issue, whether they want to see commercial only or residential and apartments, 3-4-story apartments that would need to be built in order for the site, this kind of site to be viable. Community was split. I think we heard a lot out of Albany. There was a lot of opposition to mandates in housing from Albany. So again, we haven't had a meeting clearly about this site, so I want to be very clear about that. But I did, if I'm just sitting here and I didn't say something about what we heard from folks, I just thought that was professional malpractice. So I figured I'd share it. And I don't want to share a personal opinion. I just want to share what we think we heard, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming down. We really did. Are there any questions that board members have regarding any of the things that have been raised? Dan?
So my first question is, do you currently meet the required parking as per town code?
We actually have one more space than the minimum. I think we're required to have 48, and we have 49.
Okay, so for all the seating and everything, including the queuing, you meet and you exceed?
We queue 11 cars. The town of Babylon does not have a queuing requirement like a lot of municipalities do. This is a pretty significant queuing requirement for the level of drive-through business we're kind of anticipating. Qdoba is more of a, go in, eat quick, and get out. The drive-through is something that's relatively new, but was really spurred on by the pandemic and, the need to provide service if things get shut down again. So it's not the first. There are others in other states, but the volumes are relatively low in this type of use.
Is it a proper, drive-through, or is this you order on the app before and then you get a time to come pick it up?
It's both.
It's both?
It's
Okay.
both, yes.
All right. My other question is, what are the hours of operations for the Qdoba and the anticipated unforeseen restaurant?
So the anticipated restaurant I can't speak to. My client is in contact with several other fast casual uses. That's really his business, is the fast casual business. He has a couple of Qdobas. He also has a few Burger Kings across Long Island, but this is his business, so he's been in touch with a couple of different people. We had one use that was very close, but they backed out, so we're not really sure. Typically on these uses, Qdoba, I believe, is 10 p.m., and I think most fast casual uses around 10 or 11 p.m. That's been my experience in representing them, so I wouldn't expect anything that would be, especially with 28 seats, I don't think you're going to see a sports bar or anything like that. I think it's going to be, a fast sit-down, get-out restaurant, something a little bit higher quality. You want to eat a little bit better, but you're on the go like everybody.
Like a Chopped or something?
Yeah.
Great. My other question is, does the applicant plan on continuing to operate the property even though he's renting out to other folks?
So he's the Qdoba franchisee for the property, so he will be involved intimately with the site.
Good. So with that, what's the plan for maintaining the property's cleanliness throughout the day and operations?
They have a property maintenance plan. They do go around, I believe it's either hourly or it's every other hour to inspect the site for trash, and they try and clean up as best they can. I anticipate or I expect the bulk of the issues that some of the neighbors might be experiencing is probably the result of people walking off-site and discarding their trash, as opposed to people discarding trash on site and having it blow away. Most responsible business owners don't want their site to be littered with trash, and they're pretty good about cleaning it up. So, but they can't control people once they leave the site.
And then my last question is, just for parking purposes, is it going to be the policy for whoever moves into Restaurant A as well as the current Qdoba, that employee parking is along the back and First Street so that customers can utilize the closer parking?
I don't know that they've thought that far ahead, but if that's something the board wants us to do, we can certainly, do that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? No? Okay.
Oh, and just one quick on the neighbor's question about the environmental. My client purchased this property, I think a little over 18 months ago. They did a full environmental review on the property. They had some test bores done. It was clean enough for them to purchase it, so they didn't find anything that would really lend itself to
Thank you.
contamination.
Yeah, I know that's a requirement of banks and others, and
Yes.
of course, our local Department of Environmental Control. Okay, Matt, where are we with this application? Okay, to keep the record open until? October 2nd. Okay, I need a motion to extend the record to October 2nd. Motion by Dan,
Motion?
second by Frank. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming out.
Thank you.
Okay, that is our only public hearing. We are now going to shut down our live stream, so we'll